Hi everyone, my name is Geraldine Gel S. Ortiz. Today, I will be discussing taxation, tax evasion, and tax avoidance. So here is the table of contents for today's lesson. Let's talk about taxation. It refers to the act of taxing authority that levying taxes. Taxation is a term applies to all types of taxes, whether it's income gift or estate taxes. Taxation also refers to an act of any revenue is collected. Now let's proceed to tax. Tax is a compulsory financial charges or some type of levying imposed on taxpayers by a governmental organization in order to fund government spending and various public expenditures, and failure to pay along the evasion of resistance to taxation is punishable by law. Now, let's have a brief history of taxation. It is a general belief that taxation are part of a recent origin. Taxation played minor role in the ancient world, and taxes were levied in some form of sale and purchase of merchandise or livestock. Taxation also is all over the world. Okay, let's proceed to government policy. The organizational history of Income Tax Department starts in the year 1922. The existence of Direct Tax Advisory Committee set up and Direct Tax Administrative Inquiry Committee constituted, and Income Tax Act were in the year 1961. Every year, a budget is presented before Parliament by Finance Minister. Most important component of budget is a finance bill that contains amendments which are sought to be made in the area of direct tax levied by central government. Next is the type of taxes. First is direct tax. The taxes whose burden falls directly on taxpayers are called direct tax. Example is income tax, property tax, and etc. The second type of taxes is indirect tax. These are the taxes in which the burden of paying tax that is shifted through a change in price. Example is custom duty, excise duty, sales taxes, and services taxes, etc. Let's now proceed to income tax. It is a tax on the income of individual or the entity levied by the government. Next is the two types of income tax: the personal tax and the corporate tax. In personal tax, it is levied on the income of individual or entity and also other association of people. It is also called personal income tax. And in corporate tax, it is levied on income of registration companies and corporation. It is imposed to see the net income of the company. To further discuss, here is personal tax. Income tax from all the services are considered. Certain rebates, deductions, expenditures, insurance are not considered for levy tax. It is progressive. If income increases, tax rates will also increases, and it is levied on basis slabs. So here is the slabs for personal income tax. So you can see personal income tax slabs for year 2020 to 2021. Next is corporate income tax. Rationally for corporate tax is that joint stock company has a separate entity, so tax separately. A corporation pays taxes on behalf of income and shareholders on dividends paid to them. Each shareholders get credit until 1960 to 1961. Now, shareholders don't get credit because entity treat as separate entities. Corporate pays on a flat tax rates, and it is different for Indian and foreign companies. So here is the example of corporate income tax. The type of companies are domestic and foreign company. Next is custom duty. It is levied on import and export. From revenue's point of view, the importance of export duty is limited. Octroi. It is a tax on goods entering in the municipality or any other jurisdiction for use, consumption, or sale. Next is excise duty. Excise duty is a tax charged on goods produced within the country. Excise duty is opposite to custom duty, and its other name is CENVAT or Central Added Tax. Anti-dumping duty. It occurs when goods are exported by a country to another at a price lower than its normal value. This is an unfair trade practice which can have a distortive effect on international trade. Next is sales tax. It is a tax imposed on the sales of movable goods. Sales tax on interstate sale is levied by union government and on intra-sale by state government. Service tax. It is the tax on paid services you take is called service tax. Over the past few years, it is expanded to cover new services. And few of the major services which comes under vicinity of service tax are telephone, banking, and financing services, architect, advertising, and health center, etc. Next is value added tax. It is a part of sales tax imposed by state government is called value added tax or VAT. It covers more than 220 items. VAT rates vary based on nature of items or state. The expensive the item, the more VAT rises. So here are the advantages and disadvantages of taxes. Let's start with advantages. It helps the government in its revenue. It is used to facilitate people of the country. It helps to control inflation. Restricts government to take loan from the World Bank. It utilizes public money in social welfare. So here goes the disadvantages of taxes. It restricts common people to get extra happiness at some extent. Because of tax deduction, the employers cannot enjoy their salary, for it is almost one-fourth of their salary goes to deduction, insurances, and others. Also, we don't have any control of misuse taxes. As taxpayers, we don't have any control of the government on how or ways they use people taxes. Hopefully, it is for the good of our country and not for them who feed their bank accounts with millions of people's money that is called corruption. Let's now proceed with tax evasion. Tax evasion is an illegal practice of a person or a corruption that is intentionally avoids paying untrue taxes. It is considered illegal and unethical. Next is tax avoidance. It is a legal rearrangement of businesses' financial activities in order to lower the tax liability. It is considered legal but ethical or unethical in some point. Tax evasion. The image shows unscrupulous government official. As you can see, a person with blue shirt is clueless about the government official spent. It means corruption is existing as well as the unfair treatment and dishonesty of the government officials, but not all. Next is tax avoidance. As shown on the images below, these are the professionals you can ask for help about taxes. These are accountants, lawyers, and financial manager. Next is tax evasion. Tax evasion generates understatement of incomes, shows overstatement of expenses. Tax evasion provides false or fictitious entries in books. Next is tax avoidance. Moving capital or labor to areas or moving countries with lower tax rates. And manipulating the tax parameters through legal means. Let's go on to computing the tax. Tax income or your personal income, allowable deduction or your expenses, income subject to tax or your net income tax. So here are the corporate tax rates in some countries. United Arab Emirates has 55% of tax rate. Philippines has 30% of tax rate, while Uzbekistan has 7.5% of corporate tax rates. These are taxable income including net sale, interest income, rent income, and business income. We also have non-taxable income. These are the gifts and inheritance and life insurance proceeds. So why tax evasion is unethical? It compromises the purpose of taxation, the peace, security, just, and distribution of wealth. It disobeys the government. Not just the government, but also it disobeys the law and its leaders. Next, according to Milton Friedman, tax avoidance is unethical. He admitted that tax avoidance is advantageous in the long run. He also quoted that tax avoidance may therefore have been essential for economic well-being. Next is Rosario Manasan. She believes that tax avoidance is unethical. She justified that tax avoidance is similar to tax evasion. Manasan also quoted that loss of government revenue, increases in taxpayers after tax income, preserve effects of equity of efficiency goals of the tax system. Lastly is tax avoidance, avoiding tax. Avoiding a social obligation, it is urged. It is punishable by law. If we don't pay taxes, our country, the Philippines, costed 360 billion pesos lost per year. To think that the money gives a lot of contribution in the next few years, but because of irresponsible taxpayers and abusive officials in the government, our Philippine fund scarce of money. And before I end this, I will leave you with a quote by George Sewell. Fear is the tax that conscience pays a guilt. Thank you for listening and have a great day. Like and subscribe!